Surprise!
We're back with the question and answer
I didn't know we
session.
were doing this surprise thing. No one told me.
we're doing the question and answer session with Darjanator. This is the first Captain Sable Q&A of the year of 2023. If you missed the last episode, right above Naz's head, you'll see the link. That link will take you to watch that episode where we talked about, what is coming out in 2023. What are we looking at for 2023? Click that, go watch that, and come on back here. Now we have taken questions from both YouTube and Twitch chat. This is a experiment I'm running right now to see if it works, because YouTube has this option where you can run a Q&A where you can submit questions similar to how I've set it up for Twitch. So hopefully this will be doing this in the future. You can come watch us live, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub or youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive on Saturdays, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. With that being said, let's look at the first question, which is from YouTube, which is Peruna, who asks, we now have Salvage Tier 0. What features will Salvage Tier 3 bring us in its final form? Naz.
Okay. For one, I'm going to reiterate this every time I get the chance. They are getting rid of the tier system. The tier system is out the door. They will now be labeling the features by their name. So we're not going to get salvage tier 1 or tier 2. It's going to be vehicle munching, component salvaging, and what I would have considered a tier 3, siphoning. So oxygen and fuel.
So we'll get physicalized fuel tanks and but
ammo.
That would also mean life support will be in.
Well, life support being this or next year, like when the
because if you're siphoning oxygen, you will actually need it to be running and
I think siphoning is at least like 24, if not farther.
That's a good point. Do you think there's anything beyond siphoning though?
I mean, we have munching we've already talked about, right?
Yeah, hull scraping, munching, components, siphoning. Yeah,
I think that's about it.
I think the past siphoning is the not necessarily salvaging, but the reverse of that, which is jerry rigging ships.
Taking a ship that is
some
derelict and turning it into an actual working ship.
Yeah, like, oh, this is a nice engine. Tack welds onto ship.
Okay.
Salvaging chunks of a ship and making them function.
So basically, you're going to be creating Drake, but in game.
It's Drake, but not from Drake. Well, parts are from Drake.
Drake, but
Proto Drake,
without the warranty. Without the warranty.
That's what. So you can turn your Drake into having an actual escape, eject scheme. Except
everybody who makes their own ship is going to make it a Drake ship, but with an escape
pod. Yes, a Drake butt. Like, I think it'd be really cool. And like with that kind of features, they also have like Drake kits that you can get to where it's like wiring kits or something, not for Drake ships, but to facilitate the Drakening of other ships.
I'm moving on to the next question. We're getting into some weird weeds. Northern Trooper from Twitch asks, with multi-capital ship battles, how will communication work? Will we have a wide encrypted beam to all ships in the fleet? I'm going to be honest with you, Northern. How it's going to work is Discord or TeamSpeak. Even if CIG manages to function, maybe when we're dealing with something like intelligence feed. So like you're dealing with information coming into the ships and then distributing out to the other ships, so that the ships themselves are able to, like, say, scanners, like linking their scanners together or their maps. Maybe we'll see stuff like that, and I think that's probably going to be more of a communications type beam, something like where everyone's the kind of
CNC command and control stuff.
Yeah, you're going to have an active communication back and forth with a CNC ship, and it's going to be, and that CNC ship is then going to be giving you all the information. It's being fed from all the different things out to you. But that's a system that we don't have an idea, because CIG's right now, CIG's HUD is so messy and bad that like they got to get the basics first before they can get into that.
Yeah, but any sort of communication that can be done in a single sentence, people will gravitate towards using third-party software. So there's actually no reason for them to do any sort of stuff like that. Huge data running, scanning, stuff like that. Sure, that will be done in game, but actual communications, it's just the safest way is just to use Discord, because Discord never crashes.
I mean, it does, but there's more options. It's faster.
VR and Discord.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Naz, who asks, "What's your thoughts on the ship size creep? Will it happen? Is it good or bad, and why?" Since Naz asked this question,
the Manchestering,
we're getting Manchestered.
No, I'm talking more about like ships that were big 5 years ago are not ships that are big now. Will not be ships that are big in 10 years. Will not be ships that are big in 50 years.
So you're saying, like, as we get more ships that are larger, the ships that we think of that are big now are not going to be as big?
Yeah, like we used to run cargo day in, day out with a freelancer. Now it's Caterpillar. Now it's C2. Now it's Hull C. Now it's Hull E. Like, wow, what an amazing ship, combat ship is the Retaliator. But then, like, the Carrack or the Idris, the Javelin, the Bengal.
The Carrack is a horrible
I know. Move on.
That question. I think there will definitely be niches that will form. There already have been. The problem right now is that the concept of trade as we know it is pretty simple: buy low, sell high. But there's going to be a lot more complex and nuance added to it: demand, supply, distance, and size.
Rebates.
There'll be things that, like, you'll get based off of. So, like, for instance, this pile of diamonds is incredibly expensive, and you can sell it at this other spot for an incredible profit. But it's so expensive that you're not filling up your whole sea with those diamonds. So and so there'll always
diamonds are actually fucking cheap in Star Citizen universe.
Well, it's because
compared to like stuff like Hadanite.
Well, one, we know of planets that rain diamonds. So once you get into space, diamonds are just nothing, and they're used in all sorts of industrial purposes.
Yeah.
So like Shuba needs diamonds galore while they're mining.
No, I think Dolivin is better for that than diamonds.
Okay, but so you now made diamonds relevant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get my point. Like the concept is that most of this stuff is what we have right now is very basic. So I think there will always be a case for smaller ships, especially since jump point sizes could be still could be a thing.
Yeah.
So
also maneuverability. Like if you can escape from someone who's ambushing a jump point by using a small cargo ship that is maneuverable versus a ship that has more cargo capacity but drives like an asteroid, you will be using that one just because your chance of getting past the blockade is much bigger. So the chance of you delivering the item that is required will be much higher. So that is what you will be gravitating towards.
Pros and cons. Like the where this kind of question spawns from is Star Citizen ships are kind of small to other science fictions. Like, especially if we go to like Eve, like massive ships, like Star Wars, super massive compared to Star Citizen.
There are animes that have moon-sized ships.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about, that's not a moon, that's a space station. I'm talking much bigger than that. There's certain animes like that have literally ships the size like half of the Earth.
Yeah.
Oof. Wow. Yeah, like
and I think we're not going to see that necessarily too much in Star Citizen. And as we see larger ships coming out, those ships that will be larger are mostly to support NPCs. It's like Star Citizen is more realistic with its space. It's doing, as much as people shit on CIG and Stars for their design options, their use of space is much more efficient because it has to be built at the scale of a human. Most places, most games do not build, or even sci-fi features do not build at the scale of human because you only see the exterior if you're like a third-person game, like Eve,
Yeah.
or you.
But
only
even
see the
in
exterior
even in
of the
Star
interior.
Trek,
Yeah,
even in Star Trek, I have books that have cross sections of like the Voyager, the Galaxy class, or the Intrepid class, the Galaxy class. They have decks that are spaced out properly, but the floor thickness and the wall thickness is like this.
yeah.
There is no room for infrastructure.
That's why they have Jeffries tubes.
How are you going to transport energy and matter through Jeffries tubes? That's for people.
Yeah.
But
You
the
tractor
Jeffries
beams,
tubes,
right?
the
The
Jeffries tubes don't
teleporters.
actually. The
use
Jeffries tubes don't actually exist in those plans.
You
They are
use
just
the
a
use the
thing.
teleporters to teleport the positive charged ions into
Yes.
whatever they need.
So yeah,
No,
That's-
but yes, no. There, Star Citizen is really the only IP where maybe The Expanse, where ships are done properly with infrastructure in mind.
yeah, because we won't actually see the pipes in Star Citizen. Like they won't actually physicalize the pipe locations or the pipes themselves, but they'll have the locations and they have to be the right size. So if you like punch through that part of the hole, you won't be punching through a pipe that you will see spewing out goods, but the game will go, that's a pipe location. You just punch through it. That sort of thing.
Empty.
Yes.
Jesus.
All right.
Actually,
I knew it was going to
some of the
happen.
bigger Expanse vehicles don't have a good scale to them. They're almost there, but I've seen some behind the scenes stuff with the bigger ships.
Mhm.
They're the same problem that some of the Star Wars, Star Trek stuff has. Like the necessary bits are there, but they just kind of like
Star
fake
Wars ships are bigger on
assume.
the inside and the outside anyway. So
Yeah.
even the Millennium Falcon is much bigger on the outside than it is on the.
Yeah.
Sorry, the other way around.
Inside,
the inside's bigger. Yeah, for the Expanse bigger ships, they went bigger on the outside, and they just like assumed majority of the interior.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, with Starfield coming out this year, hopium, how much PR will, he says hopium in parentheses, not me. How much PR will Star Citizen and Squadron 42 get from that? A little, but probably not a lot.
No, it's completely worlds apart. Like Bethesda is a AAA, not necessarily are they? No, they're ZeniMax. No, not indie studio. So they're not an indie studio.
They're
So
owned by
AAA
Microsoft.
Yeah, that's fun. So it's Microsoft backed, and they don't. The worlds do not really collide. But a lot of the Star Citizen players will play Star Citizen, and they'll bring the crowd that are playing Squad or Starfield, not Star Citizen, back to Star Citizen when they're done with the game.
Yeah.
Thing is, a lot of people are thinking that Starfield is going to be a lot of what Star Citizen is supposed to be, but much sooner, and they'll be severely disappointed because it's just going to be a fallout.
That's what No Man's Skies was, right? Because that's what Elite was, right? That's what Eve is, right?
I'm expecting Starfield to be Rebel Galaxy Outlaw and Fallout 4 Keith. It's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting them to smash into each
not
other.
Fallout 4. What's the other one? There was Fallout in Space. There was literally Fallout in Space.
I don't remember that one, but yeah.
Oh, the New Vegas crew.
Oh,
Strange
yeah.
Worlds?
Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds. Yeah, that one. It'll be Outer Worlds.
And they've confirmed it's not Skyrim
with a ship you can modify and actually fly in space, but not land on planets.
Yeah, it's Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. That's what they did. It's a first person shooter space game that you just don't have first person shooter aspects. You can't like land on planets. You can get land on planets and that kind of stuff.
Look, I really like how far they're pushing that engine because it looks really cool.
Isn't Starfield the first on the newest engine?
No, it's the same engine.
It's same engine because it's beautiful looking, but as soon as you get some of NPC talking animations, and you can tell it's still Fallout 3. Yeah.
I expect it to be a decent game. And I expect it to, especially after the cases, the modders to go nuts with it. But I will say, I don't agree with the silly notion of any game being another game killer. Unless it's a direct competitor in terms of at the same time, like.
But nobody's dumb enough to do a Star Citizen direct competitor.
No,
No, there's
it's-
one company.
No, it's not. I'm not talking about that company on chat on online stream. I don't want to.
Are you talking about the company that Sarah McCullough went to?
I'm talking about the company that silenced the Eradicator because he had some not so nice things to say, and they YouTube striked him. I'm not about to get a YouTube strike over something that's just not my business. Yeah,
I don't know anything about that. I don't
Yeah,
even
they
know if
did.
we're mentioning the same thing. It's something about stars and maps in the name.
Yes, same one.
Okay. Really? They did that?
They did that.
Oh no, that is the company that Sarah McCullough went to.
Is it
the one who designed the SRV and the MSR? Yeah.
Oh, nice.
A lot of the concept artists work for both. All the freelance people who've done stuff for Star Citizen have done stuff for that game.
Yeah.
All
They just
right.
need to stop the whole
Anywho,
just make a game.
last question from Northern Trooper.
She also did, on Star Citizen Live, designed one of my favorite Anvil ships, the Anvil Overkill, which was the ship that I actually named. Because afterwards, Disco said, "Can we let's pick a name?" And I just went Anvil Overkill because it had all the guns.
Yep.
It literally had like 4 size 7 guns on it.
Oh my god.
Because Chad designed it.
So, Northern Trooper asks, what will 23 bring for their maturity of crafting? Do you think we'll see manufacturer ships finally be a thing? For those who don't know, you in 318 right now, if you have a vulture, you can use the vulture to the kind of goo that you get off of the hull. You can turn that into
recycled material substance, I believe. Or something like
that you can craft a pyro multi-tool and the attachments for it.
The fact that it was just no one talked about it, they just like slipped it in, just shows the level of oversight that was not put on crafting. Like I'm sure like it was.
Do you know
only
how much
in the team
stuff
that
it
knew about that?
To create a multi-tool requires 0.89 SCU of salvage material.
Like that's it, even that. Like I have so much problem with that because like you're ripping off hull. That is a single material.
Yes.
That's not electronics. That's not the displays.
Yeah.
I have so many issues with this.
Yes.
The reason why it exists is because people forget to bring their tools, and they wanted people to be able to do that.
It's a very gamey stopgap.
It is a stopgap. Yes.
This is.
I would love to have a huge, very complex 3D printer in my ship that it would need to feed different materials. The hull scrape stuff, the hadanite, copper, diamonds, whatever, with recipes to create the items that I'm looking for. But they will never be as good as stuff you could buy in a shop because, manufacturers have had like decades and centuries of experience of creating those things, and it can make them better. And you can create a stopgap, but not a proper item that you can buy in a shop. Anyway, yes. I will stop interrupting you.
Have you seen Prodigy? Star Trek Prodigy?
No. Yes. I have it downloaded. It just finished. No, it didn't just finish. I thought both part 1 and part 2 are going to come out very close to each other, so I was going to wait for season 1 to finish, but I have part 1 of season 1 waiting to
and without doing too much spoilers on that then, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna talk about it. It's fine. But anyway, I think it'd be really cool if like a manufacturer, like let's say Tumbril, like they sell a Cyclone for like a couple thousand credits or like whatever it is. It's like 20,000 anyway. But you cost them like buy a 1 million credit blueprint, and it's like you can build 5 Cyclones out of this.
Ooh, DRM blueprints. Ooh, I don't know.
Well, they don't want like an infinite supply of tumbrils coming out of a ship. They want you to interact with the rest of the economy.
This is true.
So they need some way of not making that an infinite token of just you now can land a ship anywhere and build as many Cyclones as you want, and then salvage.
I will throw one more wild card into all of this, which was at the end, towards the beginning, I should say, of 318's Evocati or PTU phase. There was a leak of a ship description, which may have been a red herring. It may have been intentionally set as a trap, a honeypot to whoever leaked it. was going to get fired or whatever. But there was a leak of the Argo MCV, mobile construction vehicle. And the description, when I saw that, I thought, oh, so this is just going to be another base building ship that's not the Pioneer, which makes sense. You need something that's a little bit smaller than the Pioneer to be able to do something similar. They won't do that with a lot of these professions. But the description was all about factory work, that it was basically a flying factory that crafted things. So,
and I've actually made a video years and years ago, even before like any building stuff was really talked about what I would design as far as the building aspect goes. And there's the Pioneer, which sits down and builds the thing. But then there's a ship that builds components and you use a crane to place them. So like you build a wall and then you use the mold crane to just push it in position. So it's a factory, but you can also build like wall sections, door sections.
Yeah. Like using Rastar as a design tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
And also,
so
one more thing.
Yeah.
Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, and Fallout 5 are the only things built on Creation Engine 2. So I was right.
Yeah, it is technically, but it's the same engine. It's just
you can tell.
From it's still Creation Engine. I'm just saying, like, it is the next version of Creation Engine.
Yes. But
it's not a new engine they built. It's basically just using the same core and just building up on it. Just like CIG is doing with Star Engine. Like it stopped being CryEngine and Lumberyard long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Dan Little, who asks, will there be a distinction between vehicles that have and don't have guns? Like different areas where armed vehicles aren't allowed to, but unarmed vehicles are? No, probably not. Because for gameplay purposes and for like lore purposes, most ships have guns or have the ability to carry guns simply because for gameplay purposes, you may need to shoot at something at some point. And those hard points aren't just gun hard points. They originally were also supposed to be utility hard points for being able to add things like tractor beams. So there's some gameplay reasons to have those hard points there.
There's one ship in the game that doesn't have hard points, right?
That doesn't have guns?
Yeah.
The MPUV, yeah. I think there may be one.
But it's supposed to have a utility mount on its head.
Yeah, it's supposed to have a utility mount. So
the same sort of mount, but that you could attach either a gun or a tractor beam or whatever.
I think they've actually talked about having to demilitarize your ship before going into certain areas.
Well, there's also the like, for instance, the thing that turns off your guns right now is actually in lore. It's an actual device that it's installed in some places, which literally turns off guns for certain people. It can reinstall, state it, but it effectively jams that ability.
But that shouldn't work with melee weapons and purely mechanical weapons.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
But they will not say,
because right now it's a blanket. You cannot combat.
Yeah.
When they have FPS security actually in the game and dynamic population, you can punch a civilian, and then you'll get gunned down by security.
Or that I wish there I just wait for one day when you'll be able to do whatever you want in a green zone, but there will be deadly turrets like you have at the exit of Klesher everywhere.
Yeah.
Just one just sitting on top of ArtCorp Tower, just looking at the plaza, just like
step wrong. And I want them to be so overpowered they vaporize you with a single shot.
The clarification was ground vehicles, not ships, ground vehicles. And I'm gonna be very clear here, because I think this is something that needs to be said, because as far as I understand, this is not something they're planning on doing. CIG is not going to have highways where you're going to be able to drive your Cyclone through a city. That's not what they're going to do. They're not the vehicles that CIG is making is for ground transportation in rural or more underdeveloped areas. So you're going to have to rely on like public transportation in cities, as far as I can tell. The lore points that direction, and the game design points that direction. That's just what it is.
So Star Citizen cities are going to be more like in Europe than in USA, where they are more public transport centric instead of car centric. I like that.
Did it drop?
It was
Shoot.
framey for a while, but
It
thought
says
that was
we're
fine.
back on Twitch. Womp
Okay.
womp, you're
Cool,
back.
cool.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen
I
any
actually
drops
got
from
a couple of like very low frame rate on Discord as well, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Did
Yeah,
all of
this
the
is
internet
fun.
just decide to have a stroke?
I don't know. This is fine.
Well, it could be just Paul's upload. That
It
would
could have
affect
been just
everything.
Discord, and
I
since we're
will-
streaming this all through Discord.
I will also, well, the Twitch chat saying we're back as well, but I will say this, that because someone said we should say CH is not. You're not going to have highways in like landing zones.
Mhm.
You're not going to see like highway infrastructure. It's going to be built much more like European or say Asian cities, where you're going to be using public transportation wherever you go.
And
That
walking
may change.
otherwise.
And walking, yeah. It may change, but the vehicles that are designed by for Star Citizen are designed for rural use, for say like if you're living in an outpost or a small town or like a very like a landing zone that's just not really developed, or for combat or for exploration. Like that's what they're designed for. So
I still want like a fucking electric scooter, so I don't have to walk places, but I can.
The aside of that though is player-made bases.
yeah,
But it's still not like huge cities where the only way to get from one side of it to another is just getting into a car and driving. So you will go either public transport with shuttles or trams, or you will walk because it is that nearby. Because nobody really wants to. I haven't really actually ranted about this in discords that either you are in, but car-centric society is the fucking bane of my existence, man.
It's a bane of everyone's existence. They just don't know it.
Yeah,
It is the worst part of human infrastructure that has ever been thought of.
it's
And I think YouTube died.
Sort of.
it should be back. Yeah,
What happens?
The
What happens with
Discord
YouTube is it
stream is
doesn't-
back as well. So
Yeah, the YouTube issue is not a the issue with YouTube is that it actually when it loses it drops the stream entirely. Then you have to it redoes it like a new video. So
It's new
Oh.
URL. I hate
Yeah.
it so much.
so yeah.
It won't. Nah.
This is why people still stream on Twitch.
yep, it's not quite.
I
quite good
want
yet.
to be part of the group that sticks with YouTube through this terrible
But-
adolescent phase.
Yeah, but until they have discovery and persistence. Oh, there's a word. Drink. I'm out.
So am I. So
It's just not going to be a viable competitor to Twitch.
Yeah, they need to
the
have
thing
better.
with
better
the thing
But
with YouTube
persistence.
that it
Twitch-
has over Twitch though is that it's not hidden for anyone who's looking for that content.
Yeah.
Like if you're browsing Star Citizen content, you'll see.
That's what
it.
he's saying. That's what he's saying. Is like, and on YouTube, the problem is that you don't actually have a hub of locations for Star Citizen. If you just Google, if you just type in YouTube, type in Star Citizen, you won't see the first list won't be the things that are being streamed, because I can guarantee you someone's streaming Star Citizen at any given time on YouTube, but you don't have that. You have to go to a separate location. It would make more sense if they sorted it by like, hey, this is all of the live here. Go see all the live of Star Citizen here, and then move down. They don't have that.
If I search, I mean, this is obviously algorithm based, but if I search Star Citizen on YouTube, you're the third option.
Yeah, but that's because you
It's
follow
it's
me.
it's still a search result
Is it?
instead
Do
of
I have you subscribed on this one?
You may, but you've also been doing other things. So
it's
No, I don't.
still
I don't
a-
have you subscribed on my second channel.
Naz, it's still only a search result instead of being a proper category for
Yeah, so
this
YouTube
sort
has
of
it
stuff.
backwards to like, and this is the hilarious part: is it's backwards to Twitch, but everyone complains about
it's
Twitch.
still because YouTube is still primarily videos
Yes,
and Twitch is live streaming.
let's move on to the actual discussion. So we can get this
Twitch
other
is
stuff.
ad income and screwing over its current.
The next
Are
question,
we back on both platforms so we
we
can
should
continue?
be. We should be.
Okay, good.
So the next question comes from Midnight Black SC, who asks, According to Chris's letter, we could be getting persistent hangers this year. What effect do you think we will have on the way we play?
Almost nothing.
Almost nothing. Yeah.
Like, if you actually read what it does, it's a way station for your cargo.
Yep.
Nobody right now is looking for a way station. It's always start game, get in ship, go pick up cargo, go sell cargo.
It's not going to be the same sort of hangars that we had before we had the persistent universe.
Yes. It's much more like a warehouse.
I would love to have those, because if you can find this on the internet, I will buy you a cookie. I will. But years ago, I'm thinking 7, 8, 9 years ago, I made a video that made it onto Wingman's Hangar. It's that long ago, where a bunch of friends of mine got recorded ourselves playing poker on a green screen, and I inserted that into just random footage of a hangar. Because even back then, we wanted just to have a place to call our own and get other people to come there and, just hang out.
Mm-hmm.
We still don't have that.
Yeah,
we have ships that you can hang out on, but it just doesn't feel the same. It's not something.
It's not home.
It's not home. It's not a home. No.
Yeah, basically, like, people keep thinking that persistent hangars is the hangar side of persistent hangars, or the player-owned tabs. It's not. It's completely different features. They have no relation to each other. Everyone wants player-owned tab.
Mm-hmm.
And the hangars is simply an added addition to the cargo. And it will be a feature, but now that I'm thinking about it, it might actually be a bit more necessary to interact with, because if I remember correctly, when you buy in a landing zone, it will not be put on your ship. It will be put into the inventory of the landing zone. You'll then have to go to the hangar and call the elevator up with your cargo on it, and then load it into your ship. So if I remember correctly, that's what the elevators are going to do, which means you'll have to use it to get cargo done. It's basically not cargo timers, but cargo timers.
Yeah. And it's also long-term storage if you want to buy something and keep it there. I think is what it is. It's just, so yeah. Sadly, it's not as big as you think it is. It's not holding your ships forever.
Yeah, no, but it kind of is, because functionally it'll basically be you land at a hangar, and as soon as the door closes, that's going to disconnect it from the physical building that is the
hangar.
Not the hangar, but the spaceport.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to move it somewhere. So if somebody else requests a hangar or requests landing, they'll be able to get the same door to open for them, but you won't be there.
Yeah,
and that will keep your ship, and whatever you do with the ship in terms of cargo and personnel and refueling, etc., that it's going to keep that permanently. And then when you request landing,
where we're going to get instanced hangars? Because that's the question that I've been having for a long time, because we don't know. Do we know 100% it's going to be instance hangars? Because I remember Chris Roberts has also been talking about physicalized. So
the thing
that's a different thing. This is like physicalized hangars somewhere in the asteroid field, where one of the quadrillion asteroids is yours, so you can build a hangar in it. That's different to going to a very small relatively very small landing zone where tens of thousands of people can go to and land and take off from.
So there's two things that I like to bring up when I think of all hangars being addresses, physical addresses for server meshing purposes. One, we only use like a quarter of the hangars in ArcCorp. And also, traffic's going to exist. We know traffic exists, and queues exist.
Because NPCs are going to be a thing. Like NPCs with ships that keep landing and taking off.
And they'll be
9-to-1 ratio. They keep talking about that 9-to-1 ratio. And
the thing about having the overwhelming traffic problem that a lot of people bring up is the opposite of that is where the gameplay actually is. you're not going to have most of your people going in and out of these landing zones most of the time, or even off the hangar or off the stations. They're going to be most of the time doing something else. And that is going to spread and spread and spread as we get more and more planets and systems.
But unless you wanna just bedlog and keep your ship in space, which is the final step in this whole persistence thing. It's like even if your ship is small, it's going to be it will persist in the universe. Then you will have to go to a landing zone and get one of these persistent hangars, which hopefully you'll have to pay because fuck it, Paul on his stream has more money sinks than CIG and Star Citizen has right now.
That's true. All right, let's move on to the next question because we've got a lot of them because we're kind of filtering between two of them. I'm going to start picking and choosing, especially with this many, which ones are good or not. So this question comes from Vian Katoon, who asks, hey guys, as a search and rescue member in an org, we would like a medical ground vehicle the size of an Ursa rover. Do you think we'll see that in 2023? Thank you. I think so. I've been talking about a medical Ursa for years. Yes.
Atlas platform has been very lucrative for CIG, so I wouldn't say maybe Ursa size, but I'm thinking Atlas medical vehicle definitely.
I could definitely see an Ursa medical vehicle. I could see it.
Yeah.
You just rip out the seats and put in a
sure, but they haven't created a modular system for the Ursa platform like they have the Atlas. So the Atlas exists. Ursa is only 6 jump seats in the back.
But there's also the Lynx,
which doesn't exist yet.
Yes, but it's still an Ursa, which is so like it's still the same kind of like it's a different version of the Ursa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
possibly, but the only thing we've seen from it is the one that's in the original Constellation Aquila commercial. Is it a Lynx or is it an Ursa?
That was an Ursa, but it was like an early version of that. I wasn't.
Yeah, so we have absolutely no idea what the Lynx is supposed to be.
I will throw another monkey wrench into this whole thing. The elevator that goes up to the medical bay of the Galaxy is Ursa sized.
Okay.
So it's obvious, and they've talked about more things there. So, a RSI medical ship, a medical vehicle to go into an RSI module, which is made for medical, they work together. Yes, exactly. So yeah, I think so. I think you, Viana cartoon. I think that's something I almost certainly will see it this year in terms of ground vehicles because it's a great gameplay necessity.
But if they do, that means that opens up more variants of the Ursa other than just transport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's even a military version that they have in lore that exists. It's called the Marine Rapid Response Vehicle, which is what the Ursa is based off of. So
okay,
yeah,
a MERV.
Yes,
MERV. That's cool.
Parker XGPS asks, could there really be a new event on the way? Any ideas on what it could / should be? Yes, there's almost certainly one. CIG
there's always, until they put it in, there's always another thing. Until the Cargo Olympics are a thing.
I don't know. Tony Z hasn't leaked any new events recently, so who are we to tell?
So yeah, I think we'll probably say which could it be? I'd love to see more non-military or more commercial and non-combat based events would be nice.
Yeah.
Just
fucking let us farm resources for Synth World or whatever.
Yeah, a great example would be an accident. So you have some sort of event where there is this massive accident and you have a wreck of a bunch of wrecks and ships because it was a show gone bad. And so your job is to get there, triage, grab as many people as possible, treat them, get them to a hospital and get them out. Like that's a good kind of event that's more disaster related,
or maybe
disaster events.
Or Orison, Siege of Orison cleanup.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
like, what happens after the Nine Tails are done at Siege of Orison? It's like who's gonna clean everything? It's like this is a perfect job for Nazeris. He wants to sweep up all the garbage and
Nazeris cleanup detail. That's what it would be called. Instead of Viscera cleanup detail.
There's also I imagine most of the events that we're going to get from this point on are not going to be Siege of Orison, not Zero State. That's the streamer.
Xenothreat.
For the raid.
Thank you, Logan.
What did you say, Paul?
Xenothreat.
Xenothreat, that's the one. Gosh, I knew X. That's the only thing was in my head.
Is Zero Threat or Xenostate?
Yes.
Xenostate, okay. I think they're gonna be smaller, focused on the ability for the game itself to generate whenever it feels like. So a rush on an ore or a rush on a commodity. A spike in police or a spike in police. Or a spike in police or a spike in pirates.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have taxiing yet, but I imagine that's going to be its own event where it's like somebody's putting on a concert. You have to get X amount of people, like thousands of people want to go to this spot right now, kind of thing. So I imagine events are going to get more granular, though they're probably working on more premier events. But eventually, every single event we've had is supposed to be a dynamic event that is
launched. Yeah,
not. Like, we will not have a 2-week notice. We will not have a, by the way, Spectrum post that no one's going to hit buttons at CIG when these things happen.
It will be the machine that decides.
Yes. Speaking of the machine, the next question is for you, Naz, which is quantum simulation when? I think we kind of talked about it a little bit, but when do you think? Okay. A question for Tony Z. Nazeris. Quantum simulation when?
Okay, so technically one
finished,
we have
completely
finished.
Date and time.
When?
Give us answer.
When, Naz?
Quantum simulation is never done.
When Nazeris _CIG.
The quantum simulation will never be absolutely done. There will always be something to add, something to tweak. Just like balance of a game, like the quantum simulation can always get bigger. Big chunks of it will get in. I can maybe not this year, but I think more stuff will come in this year. Big chunks next year and the year after and the year after. As much as there were big chunks to add.
But that's just like the
like, we're not gonna get even a 90% done until we have another.
Nothing in Star Citizen is gonna be completely done.
Right. Like, it's a live service. That's how they work. But till we get Earth and Terra, simulation will not be done.
Okay.
So,
but when do you think? What do you think we're going to get this year? In fact, those with questions. When do you think we're going to get this year for that?
I really like Darge's answer about just turning on the rest of the commodities. I can't.
Yeah,
I
hopefully.
can't.
Yeah.
Like, everything else is just pure speculation, but I think they've proved out the system. Had to turn on the rest of the commodities.
Okay. Next question comes from Peruna, who asks, how in the world will they update the spaceports and cities to service hundreds/thousands of players? But we have 8 screens. We have 8 screens to claim our ships. Will it take another 7 years? Every area redone? No, you'll just have to wait. If an area is super busy, you're going to have to wait. That's the answer.
But there's also the rework of the Hurston cityscape.
Yeah, Lorville.
That is Lorville cityscape. That is coming with more more
neighborhoods, as I said. More neighborhoods. They're coming with more neighborhoods. There's more
yeah.
You go.
The residential areas. We only have L19, but what happened to L1 through L18? Will I know the plot if I just watch L19? Although, do I need to watch L1 through 18 to understand the plot? But that is what's happening. Is they're going to be expanding the metro network and creating more of these buildings. Because right now, if you watch your party member markers, the geometry of Lorville makes no sense when you're
Yeah.
in the L19. So right now it's just bullshit. But I hope that with the rework they will actually create more of these stations and stops and neighborhoods that you can stop at,
and land your
the
ship at and all this
spaceports. Yeah, the spaceports but spaceports, like Paul said, you're just gonna have to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, and claiming won't be a thing that everyone's doing all the time.
Although, aren't we getting ASOP app on the Mobiglass?
Yes.
That as well, yeah.
So yeah,
at least some function. They said at least some part of the functionality of the ASOP terminal.
Yeah, recalling the ships to your personal hangar, possibly, but claiming you would probably have to go to a terminal.
And you're probably not going to go to the ASOP terminal to claim. They'll probably have a specific location where you go to claim for your insurance, because it's an insurance-based.
This is interesting. With migration of the ASOP to the Mobiglass and what you said, like insurance stuff, you think we'll actually see the ASOP terminals being
phased out?
Phased out, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll eventually disappear. The reality is that, like, the problem, and I think what Peruna is highlighting, is that Star Citizen is not going to look and act the way it is now in the near future. A lot of this stuff is going to be moved to other services, other locations, be moved to your Mobiglass or whatever. So insurance claiming will be a process that is going to be done that is actually going to have an effect on you and your
your loved ones.
It's something that you will have to do sparingly, because if you have to do it frequently, your insurance rates are going to go up, your claim times are going to go up, and all those other things will start happening.
Oh yeah.
So that's a kind of a different concept. But yeah, and also right now, like, we'll have tens of thousands of people. Hold on.
CIG will introduce that gracefully, or it will be like a sledgehammer?
Gracefully. There's not going to do it great, because CIG won't have the things built out like a sledgehammer. They'll build it out gracefully. They'll build it out over several years. But what was I going to say? Oh, but the other thing is to remember that you're not going to have 10,000 people showing up at Lorville, because by the time we have 10,000 people per server, we're going to have multiple stations or multiple systems. No, unless it's a big event, you're not going to have 10,000 people. You'll maybe have 100 people at Lorville at any given time. Like right now, there's maybe 1 or 2 people that you'll run into at Lorville, unless it's really popping. But by the time you have the spread out of where things are and what you want to do beyond just Stanton, when you have multiple star systems and such, that is naturally going to filter things out. And if you have 10,000 people at a space station, it means there's something going on that space station. And so waiting is not necessarily...
and the fact that the primary stations, so the named station, the primary named stations, are supposed to be taking the brunt of the activity away from the landing zones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Next question comes from Kasumi, who asks, Paul, how much new information from the Galactopedia updates do you actually find useful on an average each release? And does it even fill the gaps to give useful context? Yes, often it does. The Galactopedia updates usually fill in the gaps for large sections that we don't know about, but they often are updating something that we had like a sentence about in a story to be a paragraph. In terms of like detailed information, rarely do they give us like, the entire life story of somebody we've never heard of before, or we only heard mentioned in a separate story. But usually it's like a paragraph description, like who Vernon Tarr was before he discovered the Banu. Like we will know a little bit more, other than he was a jumper and he was paranoid and nearly killed the Banu, that kind of thing. So it's good, but it's not really in depth. So it's good to fill in the gaps and kind of help connect the dots, but it's not really a storytelling device.
So lore primarily comes out in lore dumps on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Ish now, before it makes its way into Galactopedia for a more user-friendly and searchable format.
Yes. And unfortunately, because CIG is pulling back on it, there's no longer doing any lore dumps on Tuesdays. It's just the Galactopedia, the monthly Q&A, and then the publishing from old jump points. So, but we're still
But
getting.
hopefully,
more on
we'll
jump
see
points, so.
the outworking of why they did that within the year.
I hope.
The lore in game,
conversation.
yes.
Please.
Yeah.
New Mobiglass with Galactopedia app.
Yes.
Please.
No,
please,
we need a new
CIG.
Mobiglass that has an app store.
App Store. No.
Yes, because I don't use half the stupid icons on my stupid home row.
Hey, y'all, if you drag this out, I'm not gonna we're not going to drag it out. I'm just gonna not answer these questions. This how this is going to work.
No,
The new Mobiglass will let you customize stuff on your home row. But anyway, it's going to be like Android, not iPhone.
Play Store. I'm sorry.
Let's go through. Okay, a lot of stuff we've actually answered.
Yeah, I saw questions and I just weaved them into the narrative.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I think that's most of the YouTube questions that I've answered because I think that's pretty much it. Midnight Black SC asks, what within reason, what do you suggest CIG do this year to make Star Citizen more accessible to new players besides a tutorial? Tutorial?
I was gonna say, like, new player experience is like coming out hopefully first half.
Tutorial. That's what we need. And that's probably what the lore team's doing, because when we talked with when we did an interview with why am I blanking on his name? My brain is shot right now.
I assume a lore team.
William Weisbaum?
No, it was Dave Haddock. When we had our interview with Dave Haddock, the one of the things he talked about was they really want to get lore into the game, and they were really trying to tackle how do you introduce someone to the universe of Star Citizen through tutorial without being heavy-handed and but also without being like, fuck you, here's your keys, good luck. So without saying press B
is not the correct answer.
Yeah. So like that is something, but I would say tutorial. Like that's the best option is a tutorial. Some sort of way of getting people interested, as long as it's optional.
I would also say some way to get people invested in the background of your own character, because right now you can't create your character story yet.
Mm-hmm.
But some way to, because there's nothing. It's like there's no backstory.
There's no where you came from, and the NPCs won't react on you based on your background or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Even reputation, like you can't even make a forward story.
Yeah.
It's something to do with your character's backstory, whether you choose it or whether it just presented to you as a starting point. That I think would go a lot to making people come back to the game to continue their story, because how can you continue a story where there isn't a beginning of a story?
Star Wars Episode 4. Okay, I think to answer the question on how to make it easier for new players is actually to let them know, and this is not something that you can do in game, to let them know about the project easier. Like the fact that what we have is not done and it's going to get harder. It is a hard game, and tell them that it's going to be hard. It's going to get hard. Give them the synopsis of something that's not just the promotional pages like, hey, come buy our game. It's a super cool universe with thousands of players. Like, if somebody's buying into the game and let's say they bought into the game, it's time to give them the hard truth of, you're going to die. This is going to be hard. We are a current buggy mess. Like, that kind of edge needs to be taken off after they've jumped in. They probably did the free flight. They know it's hard. Let them know, like, it's going to get harder. Like, you're going to have to pay for insurance. You're like, give them the brief on all these different game loops.
I personally think the best way of doing it beyond a tutorial, I think this tutorial is still the best, is to utilize the in-game org system and reputation system to because right now we have guides, right? Guides are terrible because guides, like, I love you, CIG, and I do. I really think that guides are a good idea, but poor execution, because
Then the entire system should be in game, not
Who
out.
the fuck goes to Spectrum? Like Spectrum is a terrible place to introduce new people.
And
Like, even
like
any
the fact
veteran,
that it's-
any veteran
when
that a newbie
when
will ask
new
will say,
Moby
"Stay
Glass
the
comes
fuck away
in,
from there."
the guide
you know?
system needs to be part of the Moby Glass on the
Yes.
front page until you remove it manually. It has to not. It doesn't have to be an app that is on your sidebar. It has to
be in game.
the front thing.
It has to be in game. And
Like-
the easy lore answer is we have things like the Rust Society in lore, which is literally designed to take young, inexperienced people and bring them up into the professional world. So you just have a mission that players can accept, which is shepherd a newbie along with you. And as long as you have that mission accepted, you get in-game credits for it.
Yeah. Like
So you just get paid
as someone who tried
for
to
a
run
certain amount
the
of
guide
time,
system during their event they had to get the paints, you stare at it for an hour waiting for someone to show up. They don't show up. You go play the game because that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
And the second you look away, somebody pops in. You look back at it. They've been sitting for an hour and they decline.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So, all right. The next question comes from Stevie Dancer, who asks, do you feel hacking might come this year since they've been working on it for a few years? Yes, I almost certainly believe that it's going to come out this year in some way, shape, or form. You don't think so, Ness?
I think as a tier 0 kind of implementation, but we already have tier 0 hacking. It's called the stupid chips.
The chips, yeah.
And I hate it. But I think it will do one of two things. Come out in a weird state that doesn't really help much, or they're just going to keep it into Squadron 4 this year and then bring it out next year.
Let's see. Next question from Kasumi, who asks, will you be denied access to gates depending on your crime? Do you think they're trying to access a gate, be like gate like Cowboy Bebop, where you're swarmed with lawmen? Oh, talking about like the gates for the Aaron Halo. Yeah, I think you if you're against, if you're wanted by the law, you're going to get captured at a gate, or they're going to attack you at a gate for sure. Or even jump points. Yes, if you're talking about jump points, the same thing.
Gates, Aaron Halo, like everything's so. Gonna play into my whole Tony Z Nazeris thing. When they talked about virtual NPCs and the new bounty hunting system, everything that has a comm array or comm distance, so in every transaction you make, is a tracking point. If there's a bounty for you, it means that somebody wants you, and if there's police or turrets around, they're gonna get you instead. So if you buy something, your credits have been pinged, they know where you are. If you call ATC, you've been pinged. If you're in comm ray distance, you've been pinged. So
this is why probably ATMs exist on all landing zones, so you can get like an untraceable credit sheet that is currency without being traced to you as a person.
that requires you to call ATC. So you have to land outside the city limits, take a buggy into the city limits to use the stupid cash. That's the whole point, is to have a system to be circumvented when you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, Space Big Brother is watching, or Big Space Brother is watching. Yes, the UEE is not the good guy.
No.
Shubin, not the good guy. ArtCorp, New Babbage, not the good. Ninetales, not the good guy. Vandal, not the good guy. Xi'an, not the good guy. There are no good guys.
There are no good
in
guys.
Game.
There's no good guys in this game, and there's only one objective bad guy, which is the Vandal.
But they're not. They're not an objective bad guy. They're
potentially
doing the
they're
thing
not. Everything is subjective. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
Like there are. I would venture to guess somewhere deep in some bow that the UE definitely wants nobody to know about. There's a pacifist Vandal.
Maybe. All right.
But
Next question.
The UE would never let you hear about it because their entire rhetoric is Vandal bad. So it's a political thing.
That's free NAS. I got it. Steve V. Dancer asks, with the coming of the tractor beam, okay, I think you meant beam, but I'm thinking of tractor beams.
Bean.
Like just little cat. You have a gun that when you fire it, a little cat comes out to grab it for you with its little beans. Yeah.
I was thinking different kind of beans, but okay.
Yeah. Works. How will this break the game and create more gameplay?
Break
the bigger tractor beams? I mean, it'll break the game because you'll be able to do what you can do now, which is draw penises on ships, but instead you can be like, yoink! drive it like you stole it with my SRV, you know. But
as long as there are no shields, because it won't work with if the shield's up.
Yeah, or SRVs being turned into catapults, where they'll have the you'll turn the ship and you'll fling it around, like you'll start doing circles around, and then you'll turn off the beam at the right time, and then the crate goes flying towards wherever you're trying to hit.
I don't think break's the right word. It's just more shenanigans that is improve. Sure,
the word is improve. Yeah,
like and change the game. It doesn't change much because most of the stuff you're going to be doing with it has been prescribed for years now.
You'll be able to do things like tow busted ships to get repaired and that kind of stuff. Like ships that are not functional to get repaired to full.
It adds another dash in the multiplayer section of the game.
It another facet to the non-combat portion of the game.
It adds to stuff that's already there.
Yeah. All right. We've got 13 questions left, and I think we can get through most of this. Carbon Tails Q asks, given the introduction of Asia live servers, what impact do you think this will have on the 2023 funding? This is a very large market that traditionally spends money on harder, more grindy games like Star Citizen. I mean, Star Citizen apparently already has a foothold in the Asian market when it comes to video games. Someone built an entire retro fucking Bushin.
Yeah.
Like that's not,
I think it's
that's not I like video games. That's like I have spent too much money on this video game sort of
I think
level.
It's the other way around.
They built the Retribution and to scale also an MSR, which is bigger than what JRDF is going to be building.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, ends there. So when it comes to the Asian market, Star Citizen is very popular. And I don't. Oh Jesus, that's a very good question. Is like, do we expect Star Citizen, the citizen percentage to increase because?
I think it's just a general.
They have local servers
localization. Locals.
I think it's the other way around. There was a concentration in the Asian side that were using Australian or Europe servers, and so now they're like, okay, we have a big enough foothold now, we can turn on a server for them specifically.
Yeah,
like because they've spent enough that they have the headroom to have more platform.
Yeah, but is that just going to create a snowball effect? Because now that Star Citizen has local servers, is that going to attract more Asian people?
Everything CIG does is going to snowball because the game's not at its peak performance yet. It's every year's the best year ever.
Yeah.
So, of course it will, but will it be because that server turned on? That is an unknowable problem. You have to go and survey the people who bought Star Citizen post that turning on.
I do think that 4.0 being released, whenever that is released, will probably have an influx of players, but I don't think it's just going to be the Asian market. I think it'll be all gaming markets because it'll become more mainstream. Not mainstream, more mainstream. I don't think Star Citizen will ever be mainstream. It's just not that kind of thing.
It's far too niche. Yeah. It's not a COD.
It won't be a COD, but I do think it'll be like an Arma or like a
Squadron would actually be kind of like an Arma, or a PUBG.
I think Squadron might actually end up being more mainstream just because it's a single player game, so it has a little bit more.
It has the potential to be something more like Halo.
I hate to say this, but it could be the Dark Souls of sci-fi experiences.
I'm out.
Throw stuff at me.
No,
throw stuff at me.
No,
throw stuff at me.
It has one game to contend with for that title, and that's Jedi Fallen Order, and
that's true.
Jedi Survivor. So that's a track. I mean, you have to contend with the entire.
But Star Citizen is hard sci-fi, and Star Wars has always been soft sci-fi.
Fantasy,
so they have space, but to be called passingly the Dark Souls of sci-fi, that's a title they're going to have to fight for.
Yeah.
No, but I will say Jedi Fallen Order is the Tomb Raider of sci-fi because it's definitely not as hard as fucking Dark Souls.
But my point is that Squadron 42 is shooting to be difficult. It's shooting to have a lot of skill base to it, and because we also know that Chris Roberts played way too much Dark Souls before he started doing Star Citizen. So Dark Souls is definitely an inspiration for him in terms of gameplay design and difficulty levels. So
Just
I can
please,
still see it that
please,
kind of level.
no rolling from Vandal, please, Chris.
You haven't been reading the monthly reports, have you, Darsh?
Yes, there's sliding that's coming, and
the dodging you're going to have to do with Vandal attacks. You're going to have to actively dodge them because they will kill you if you don't dodge.
Mm-hmm.
Star Souls is a thing.
No, it's going to it'll be better because at least it will not have magical hitboxes that completely disappear as soon as you
can still shoot. It'll be better because you could shoot them in the fucking face with a gun from 5 meters away instead of having to roll at them,
or with your size 1 or 2 or 3 or 7 sized gun attached to your ship.
Yes, exactly.
Don't let them touch you, and they won't hurt you.
All right. Next question comes from. That's a big question. I'm gonna move that one. From Shimpasta, who asks, "Do you feel CIG should release Pyro before 4.0 for testing purposes, even if it's
I think we talked about this one already.
Yeah, we said that.
I grabbed it from chat. Yeah.
All right. Northern Trooper asks, will we see new commodities and materials to trade and mine when Pyro comes? What do you think that'll be? I don't think we will. I don't think we'll see new commodities.
I think we will.
You do?
Yeah, because completely new star system, new items. Because from the lore, from narrative perspective, from lore perspective, it would make sense to not just like animals. You don't have same animals in same systems unless you have the human colonization with the Kazi Grazer or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would need. It would be too easy to just populate a new system with the same stuff, but have minerals and harvestables that have a similar function but are slightly different.
I think we could get like a or two specific materials, but all of matter is made up of similar things. So the reason we have titanium, diamonds, and steel in the game is because it's kind of its base material. So iron is something that will be most places.
Yeah, because that is an element. Yes,
but I think
does it form in different sort of compounds that are better than just the base material? Like hadanite, for instance, is a crystal material that is an oscillator used in electronics in Star Citizen that is a lot better than quartz that we use.
I think like specific places, specific systems could have some, but not a lot. Like it won't be a complete wipe the slate. Won't just make up what's iron for this system. Just call it pizza. What's titanium for this place? We'll name it desk. I don't know. Like
brandy.
Yeah. Brandy. Like they're not gonna rename base materials just because it's a new system. Yeah. We're gonna have base materials plus that the flavor of the system.
Yeah.
It would be like rare compounds that will be added, but base materials will be the same, but rare compounds, I would say, could be different system to system.
Yeah, and that like you can even pull precedent from farming, because when you're on the Endeavor and you're farming, you need to go to a specific star to farm or make whatever plant you're trying to make. So there is precedent for uniqueness in systems. Next question.
All right. We only have 6 questions left, thankfully, and I cut some stuff out because we've already kind of talked about this, a lot of this stuff. Bearded Dunsi asks, is there any possibility that stealth tech, hull materials, and various components will be available for non-stealth ships like the Freelancer Dur, for example? Yeah, I think you could probably apply like stealth coating to certain ships that aren't designed for stealth. But that'll be an aftermarket upgrade, and it'll probably not be as efficient as ships that are designed for stealth.
Yeah, because part of it is also geometry, not just material.
Stealth Idris don't exist.
No.
Yeah. Oh.
So
I would like stealth, like proper stealth, in the game, just because I don't like PvP that much. I would prefer to sneak around instead of just go with all my signatures red hot and just defend my way through a situation.
The proper stealth ship is called an escape pod. Low SIGs, low geometry, low EM.
all right, next question comes from Walter Epic, who asks,
But by the
"Pertaining
way,
to
Execute was very angry in chat before, and he wanted you to read one of his questions. I don't know what that is.
tell
he
Execute
has a
that he
question.
can tell you can tell Execute that he can ask that question on his channel on the Inforunners, not on my channel, when I already have two of the most wordy motherfuckers in all of Star Citizen.
You're right.
Captain's table.
We should call up HC Vertigo. We should get
Yes,
him on here.
exactly. Oh, that is going to be a 24-hour Kevin Stable if we get Vertigo on the show.
I mean, since we're talking about questions not being answered, I'm going to be going live.
It's my
second
birthday,
I'm
all
done
right?
here,
That's all I'm going to
so-
say. Is I have reserved the right to be spicy. It's my fucking birthday, and I'm spending it here for another 20, 30 minutes left, and I got other things to do.
I will
Not that
be
these two
like,
people are
like less
good
than
company,
30 minutes
but
after we stop
Paul,
here. I'll be live.
Paul, happy birthday, man.
Thank you. All right. So Walter Epic asks, pertaining to the carrier gap that is between the Liberator and the Kraken, is there a ship already in lore that fills that gap? If not, what
Is it Pegasus?
manufacturer would you like to see the gap? The answer is no, there isn't. Yet the answer is yes, and me and Tree have been talking about it forever, which is the LPD concept. Which, so in reality, there's effectively what are called, I think their colloquial terms is just helicopter carrier. The U.S. Marines and several other Marine Corps and other navies in the world operate smaller aircraft carriers, which are not just aircraft carriers. They're designed to function with helicopters, but also to have like full living conditions for things like Marines and like troops on board. And they also have like tool shops, hangars, or garages for vehicles, and it's basically like a floating town, like a floating barracks that exists. And something like that needs to exist between the Liberator and the Kraken.
Idris.
With the So LHDs, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've skipped a lot of questions, chat. If you're wondering, I've skipped a lot of questions. There were far too many questions for me to get through in 3 hours, 4 hours now.
Now
It's going to be
YouTube,
3
we'll live on
hours.
YouTube.
We didn't. You keep messing up your times. Like you said, it's going to be
It's-
1 hour 45 minutes. But
yeah, but
then
it's
I'm
I've
with
been
my pants
live.
down.
I've been live for almost 4 hours. I'll be live in 4 hours in like 2 minutes. So.
I shoot for 5 every day. So.
So, but yeah, and who would make that is obviously Anvil. That's would be I would say. So,
Or RSI.
Wow,
I could see
Crusader.
RSI.
yeah,
Crusader.
Yeah.
it's gotta be something that's
Crusader-
military and civilian. Crusader could do that, but and this Crusader has a history of doing the Jupiter, which is very similar, and of course,
So Jupiter
the
is like
Hercules.
cargo, and they have the ship that moves tanks. C2 Hercules. They have the Hercules, so it's basically purpose of the Hercules bigger and like somewhere between it and the Jupiter, but purpose of the Hercules.
Yeah.
It works.
But I
It
still
works, it
say
fits.
RSI.
RSI is too space superiority.
it could still happen. I could see what he's going for,
I mean,
but
look at the Galaxy.
yeah.
That's a civilian
Uh,
ship. That's
yeah,
a new
exactly.
civilian ship.
Yeah,
The
or
idea
the
of-
Polaris or the Perseus.
The point of this is
It's all
that like
space.
whatever this is would have to be civilian and military, and its civilian purpose would be as a long range ro-ro ferry. Similar concept. You
Like-
hold ships, vehicles or ships, and you take it in distance because it's too far for those ships to go. The Liberator does that, but the Liberator has no sleeping facilities and it can only hold small ships. You want something that can hold like a Liberator, or not a Liberator, a Valkyrie. Something that can hold like a Valkyrie. Or like a Cutlass steel.
And as far as like Tree's been talking about, Tree and Blizzard, the necessary to land, like it is also a land. It's a landing craft.
Yeah, you need to land it on a planet
Idris
to be able
can
to deploy stuff.
But it shouldn't, and anything bigger than that shouldn't.
The first time we saw Idris in a game, in the game,
it
was trying to land.
Yes, but have you tried to land a reclaimer? How much was your bill when you got back to space?
So basically, a Kraken, no, something that's smaller than a Kraken, something because a Kraken can hold. A Kraken can hold a bunch of things, but it's more of a carrier. What I'm talking about is more of like something that can hold one Valkyrie or a Cutlass Steel. Like the Kraken can hold a lot more than that.
Like and a Hercules for a Valkyrie.
Yeah, like a Hercules, but being able to carry a Valkyrie.
Hercules.
Next question.
Gibbs214 asks, when will the planets start to move? They do rotate. Ooh. They do rotate, but in terms of orbiting, I'm sure we're going to have to
post new map.
Yeah, we're going to have to need. They're going to have to need to be able to track them, and there's going to have to be probably dynamic server meshing will have to be involved with it because it's going to be. So it's there's a lot of other factors. CIG's actually talked about this a couple times, and they said they'd really like to do it. But there's a lot of other factors they have to come into, including entirely rewriting the quantum system, which they're already doing.
Right. With the quantum system, the map system being redone.
We're talking about quantum travel, not the quanta as in the economy.
Right.
Yeah,
quantum
that's
travel.
Yeah. Like they've already said they have all the math ready to turn it on. They just need the supporting structure. So after the quantum travel, the dynamic 2 server meshing, not dynamic 1. So being able for volumes, what are they called? Container volumes to change size. I think there shouldn't be too much in the way after that, but that's still like in 5 years kind of loose timeline.
Jeez.
Yeah, but still a long time.
Definitely maybe they really want to do it.
Yeah, I've been wanting that ever since. Like I've been wanting all of these things ever since we got like the first 3.0 Persistent Universe.
And the second they do that, hullers are going to cry themselves to sleep.
Because there will be no
when you
more
jump
routes.
into when you jump into Stanton, it is a gamble unless you're actually watching the weather. What planet's going to be the closest one to you when you jump out, and you will probably need fuel.
You should be able. There will be. Hopefully.
We don't know how jump points work, but yes, I know what you're saying.
Well, yes, hopefully the jump points orbit depending on the distance from the
But are they
star.
geosynchronous?
Well,
are you always going to come in right behind microtime?
Well,
or
no.
Do they have their own speed?
Well, if they act like, because they're based on like there has to be a certain gravitational presence for a jump point to form. So that gravitational presence is going to orbit the star or stars, depending on the system, depending on the distance. That's the only thing that matters. So if they do follow the standard orbital mechanics, it'll just be the distance that dictates where the jump point is, how fast it travels around the sun. But if it doesn't,
it will be a gamble.
And it will be a calculated risk. Let's call it that.
All right, we've got 3 more questions. The next question comes from Drizin I can't even DRZ, who asks, is it true that there will be one derelict Bengal for players to find and rebuild? That was, as of last we heard, that is still planned. There will be one derelict.
That was a long time ago.
This was my question on the whole size creep. Like, are there going to be more? Just because if there's enough people in the game, enough players to inhabit, like, eventually there will be hundreds, if not thousands, of javelin around the
and
the
one Bengal.
So it makes sense to me because feature creep is just a part of MMOs.
Yeah.
And power creep, not feature creep, power creep. So as the game gets older, are we going to see more and bigger ships?
Yeah.
Because just the game's going to mature.
The But the thing is that you're also going to have the CIG will always make it so it's very difficult and expensive and costly. There may be 1,700. There may be 7 million javelins that exist in the universe, but each javelin's still going to cost an arm and a leg to be able to take out of your hangar. So you're not going to see javelins flying around everywhere. So.
Sure, but at that point, you would probably want more than just a single player-owned javelin. Bengal.
Yeah. So we might see more, but as far as we know, maybe one.
The rate of power creep is dependent on the developers, the balance they find, and the community. So we have no idea what that looks like till we have 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 5.0.
Yeah. All right. Fishy asks, I've asked this for Paul, but now I'll ask of you two. When do you think CIG will crack and add another light fighter, and what do you think it will be?
I fucking hope never. We have enough light fighters. We have enough combat ships.
Does it say never?
Oh, well, not never, but 2 years. I'm giving it 2 years.
Okay. And when they crack, what manufacturer do you think it'll be?
RSI.
The Defender.
Yeah, that was my answer.
Oh,
it was RSI because RSI doesn't have a light fighter.
RSI doesn't have a light fighter. They have the Aurora, which is in the same size, but it's not a fighter.
And Scorpius.
Yeah, and then they have the Mantis, which is not a fighter, and then they have the Constellation, which is not a fighter, but they do combat ships. They have the Bengal. They're the ones that make the Bengal. So yeah.
Nice.
Wait. They have the Scorpius, which is like heavy fighter.
Yeah.
So but not a light fighter. Yeah.
When will they break in out a new one? Like they're going to, because they're easy.
Yeah.
So when they
wins.
we have 6 months and we need the content or the ship content teams to keep working. A light fighter, even if it's like a cargo focused light fighter, like
what, an Avenger?
Listen,
an Avenger.
This is
RSI version of the Avenger would make sense.
Yeah.
Everything RSI would make sense. They're literally the oldest thing. They should be competing with literally everyone. So
well,
I said MISC light fighter. No, MISC doesn't do fighting ships because they are they do cooperation. The Tana. That's not a fighting ship.
It's a fighting ship.
That's like handing a current military a ceremonial sword and saying, "This is what you're going to fight with today." It's not a fighting ship.
I do think that the popular request of having the wings of the Aurora fold out you have
seen VMXCO's concept, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, what you do, all you do then is, instead of doing that for the Aurora, you just make a light fighter that does that. That has that folds out like that. It's just
it doesn't have a bed.
Instead of 2 seats, it has a single seat, and it has 2 wings instead of 4, maybe. Yeah.
Or 3.
Blizzard said the Gemini is a combat ship. Changed his mind. It
3,
is
so it's like a triangle, so it kind of pops.
So it's
out
like a Y wing,
like a Y wing, or an Imperial shuttle.
Yeah. The Gemini is an aftermarket by Aegis that they bought a Gemini, then reskinned it. So it's technically an Aegis ship.
Well, technically, the lore is funny because MISC went to the UEE and said, "We know you want a refueler. Here's our refueler. Please do it." And the UEE said, "We do not require your assistance right now." Their bureaucracy basically told them to go fly a kite. And they're like, why this happened? And MISC did the thing that it did because they're a bunch of eggheads, and they're like, crunch numbers. Let's do through all the research. Let's read books in a library and figure out what's going on. And then they came to the realization that they have no standing with the UEE, and nobody knows who they are, so no one trusted them. So they just went to the only people that they knew had standing, but were out of who had experience with this. So they went to Aegis and said, Aegis, here, this is all you need to do. Build it like this, and we'll give you the money for it. And Aegis was just like, money.
So different engines and missiles instead of fuel scope.
Yes. And but they slapped Aegis on the thing instead of MISC, and that was fine.
Yeah, and the floors still say MISC.
Yeah.
How xenophobic was the UEE at the time?
This is the 29th century. This was like,
Oh, this is new. Okay.
this is less than 100 years ago.
Oh my god.
Yeah. This is when Aegis was in the doghouse too. So it's like
Aegis versus Aegis is earlier discussion. GIF versus GIF. So the way Star Citizen gets around terms like that, Xi'an, Xi'an, is making them all canon and just saying it's
all canon.
Dependent on context.
It's when you
Like,
are like if
Aegis
you're from
is, I think, like the derogatory term for them or something.
yeah.
Aegis is I believe the original old Hellenistic pronunciation of
there-
what was Athena's
defense. It's not even supposed to be a shield. It's supposed
yeah,
to be defense.
it's not a shield, a protective garment.
Yes.
Yes. And when you see Crucian say Aegis on what is it, fucking Atmos Esports streams, he's actually being more correct than a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the fucking current English pronunciation guides say it's Aegis. Yeah.
Yeah, he's right that it's all canon, because someone from Magnus might say Aegis, or someone from Terra might say Aegis, and someone from then Soul might say Aegis. You know,
and then there's the fucking vertical slice, or is it a Morotor, when Rona Mitra's character, I forget what it is, calls it Aegeus. Chris calls it Aegeus.
Yeah. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's the same thing with Orison. All of the staff members
in Star Citizen, you're never wrong.
Yeah, and the Horizons and the Idrises, and it's fucking driving me up the wall, Paul.
It makes sense in lore. Human language is very weird. People make
okay. This is where we're gonna fight, because yes, it has been 930 years between what is now English and what is future English, and definitely is going to sound completely different from what it is right now. But you CIG and any science fiction universe is using modern English as a substitute for whatever language is being spoken in the time period.
Yes.
So you have to follow modern English rules, and it's Aegis.
Darsh. No.
Like if we want to like actually use linguistics and the probability, and let's go to the History Channel and talk about aliens here. The likelihood of
no, we're going for 2 more hours.
Alien civilization is very low, but the chance of them speaking any form of Earth language is completely abstract.
Are you saying Stargate
time ago, in a galaxy
SG-1?
far away, they are not speaking English.
Oh, of course not. Of course not. No, but it is the perception of their language that is what we're concerned with.
Yeah, yes. People don't realize that
all science fiction that we have is translated to us. Every game we play the games are twice translated, both in function and form. So we need the translation of the culture, but we also need to gamify it.
We actually talked about this on the Lore Citizen podcast, where there is actually some basic version of UEE Common that has been written down by the language person somewhere, because we actually see by accident. Right now we're doing the convoluted bullshit that you see in Blade Runner, when they're like, it's like enhance on that, bounce off of this, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We know what the Xi'an call human words.
Xi'an.
Whatever. We know what I'm using the technical. The Xi'an is actually technically the guttural version, the military version.
No, it's Jean is the guttural version.
Jean?
You have Xi'an and Jean, but everyday just says Xi'an for both. So yay.
Whatever.
Xi'an.
Xi'an. But in that language.
No, it's Darj.
In that language.
There was Jean.
In that language, we actually they use human words that mean something very specific, like refrigerator. But instead of saying refrigerator, they use the word sounds more like what refrigerator is in Spanish.
So the Xi'an words are basically what Japanese does to English words. Just kind of like approximate them with their own character.
That happens a lot with languages, where like if you don't have a word in your language, you just kind of take that word and kind of make it. And
then you take the spelling and then you apply your own pronunciation rules, and it turns into a completely different word.
Exactly, because you're trying to onomatopoeia or whatever the sound alike. It's trying to get it to sound like what it's going to use.
It's actually completely different. You take the sound and you give it a different spelling versus you take the spelling and give it a different pronunciation. It goes both ways, and this is the primary reason why Latinization or Romanization of non-Latin languages makes absolutely no fucking sense.
No, exactly.
Did 90% of what Rome did make any sense?
Well, it's when you're trying to translate.
No, we're talking about Japanese and Chinese stuff. Into like, this is why people should be taught IPA, and every language should be written in IPA, and that's it. No, the International Phonetic Alphabet.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that one.
I mean,
the other good IPA.
The other good IPA, yeah.
But yeah, this like so like this is just kind of another way of saying
also,
like
the actual alcohol.
There is legitimately a language that everyone is speaking in game, that if you are playing it in you're in English, if you're hearing in English, if you're hearing a localization in Korean, if you're hearing a localization in Romanian, that is literally a translation of the UEE common. Even if you're playing it in English, it's a translation. That's the way you can think about it, is that there is a language that the humans are speaking in UEE, which is not what we think of as English. We just say it's English because that's the way it is.
It's High Gothic.
Yeah, effectively. Same concept as 40K with High Gothic versus Low Gothic, which even High Gothic and Low Gothic aren't actually what we hear. It's just what we like. It's what they translate it as.
Which is hilarious because we also, on top of that, have the alien languages.
Yes. which is how we
are
know.
going to be spoken, just straight up going to be spoken, their alien languages in the game. Like, they will not translate Xi'an for you. You have to do it yourself.
And we will know what the words are in UEE Common for those words, because we'll know the versions of them in the alien languages. So we'll be able to figure that out, where those words were borrowed from. Full circle.
See, this is why they made a mistake of putting it 930 years in the future. It should have been 2025. And were people using words like
so they can't make a game that's pre its release date.
Oh yeah, because it's not coming out in 2025. All right. Last question, which is actually a pretty good in-depth one. This is from Griffin Gaming RPG, who asks, your most enjoyable feature of the update of 3.18. So I'll start with you on Distarge. What's your most enjoyable feature for 3.18?
Right now, from what I've been able to experience, the most fun I've had was 4 people in a reclaimer, a pilot, 2 salvage beam operators, and a very overworked monkey in the cargo bay. Because those boxes be coming out every like 15-20 seconds.
Yes, they do.
And that was like the most efficient way to run a salvage operation. But yeah, that was fun. But other than that, Jesus Christ, being mowed down in UGFs because server FPS be high this last few patches, and the AI is lethal.
Mm-hmm.
The AI is where they should be now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they keep improving the AI. They keep improving the AI. They keep improving the AI, and nothing works. And then all of a sudden, the server actually catches up, and it's like, "Oh, you're dead now."
Which is going to be so nice when the new UGFs come in, because there's stealth options in those.
Yes. I will go on, and I'll let you finish off with this one, Naz. My favorite option, and this is going to sound weird, is the move all. The move all button.
Oh, I haven't had to use
Oh my god, it's so nice.
I haven't had the inventory actually work for me yet, because it keeps graying out, and
it's patience actually. If you wait for it, the first patch I got in, it was doing that. It would not come back till I restart the game. Now it will gray out for like 10 seconds or so. I think it's because the connection between the server and the backend. You just gotta wait for it.
Yeah. Because replication layer and everything. Yeah.
It's not on the server anymore.
Naz, your thoughts. Your best feature.
Best feature persistence. So there's a main feature and a sub feature for it. Like persistence is the big one. I really like that like persistence exists and the gameplay that's come of it. Specifically, there's a scenario that I keep retelling because it is like one of the like magic scenarios of Star Citizen. Somebody in our reclaimer took down a 890 and they were going to salvage it, and I don't know if they were attacked or whatever, but they all died. So somewhere on some planet, there was an overturned 890 and a reclaimer sitting there, and an explosion of a smaller ship. Zero State came by later that day on his stream and found the scenario with nobody around. He didn't see it, but he just happened upon this scenario, and he got to play detective of what the heck went on.
You know what the best part about that is?
Huh?
I raided into his stream when that found it. I was there live when that happened. I raided it, and he explained. He's like, "Wait, we just figured this out, Paul. Let me explain this to you." And it was pretty cool. Yeah,
I saw the short of it afterwards, and like real litter, really cool. But the low key feature I really like, all of our hanger flares in game now.
Yeah,
it's accessible through the inventory.
Yeah. You can just grab it and put it anywhere. Yeah,
you can now use your hanger flare in your ships. No, there's no mounting points for it, but you can just like drop it.
Wait,
so
even the holo tables and the fish tanks?
I doubt it. But all the items that you got.
Yeah.
Not the furniture.
Yeah.
I think the furniture
you can pull out your models,
will come in with
the little models you can have.
The models, and the plushies. Oh yeah. And the fish you can just
I have so many plushies in game. Sanji, give me more plushies.
You can just take your ship out.
It's
take your fish and put it in your bed.
Yeah. You can take the push and put it in your bed. It works.
Yep. So
now we just need the ability to actually like get into bed, not just like static in bed. Like I want to be able to cuddle the plushies.
There is also, what is it, the stone crab?
Yes.
That is
the stone bug.
Does it move yet? I haven't seen it. I've not
seen
it.
No. It's not an actual fauna. It is a commodity that you can grab and put in your inventory. But I think it was the Friday's patch. Yeah, so yesterday's patch or the Thursday's patch, where they fixed it doing this. Because it's supposed to do this, but it wasn't. So now it's creepy.
You can eat it too.
I can't wait.
It's consumable.
I want there to be like space spiders or something. Like imagine happening upon specifically a reclaimer, and all the lights are out, and I don't mean like a small spider either, but like takes up the corridor.
Yeah.
And as it runs at you, it crawls up onto the side. And yes, I have arachnophobia. So
yes,
it's kind of like the crabs that Jax came across when he was fixing the mole.
Yes.
The Oni crab? No, it's not the
no.
Oni crabs are the little gas bubbles, the bailings.
Little tiny ones.
Yes, I know. But if they're going to make it scary, I want to be scared.
Yes. All right,
y'all.
Thank you.
My arachnophobia is very specific, and it doesn't apply to large spiders.
Thank you all for joining us. We're going to call it there. Thank you to Darj and Naz for coming on and having this first stream of the year, the first Captain's Table of the year,
first table of 2953,
first table of
2953.
All downhill from here.
This was quality.
Yes. So make sure you ask questions if you're watching this after the fact. Ask the questions down below. If you enjoyed this, we do this live on Saturdays, and we're going to try to do it on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. If I can work on it, if we make it work at 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays, and of course this will go live on YouTube on Mondays. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.
Later.